Will you let us know if it goes on?
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. I know online I'm looking dark, but I want you to be able to see the board, okay? Who remembers the title of our story yesterday? What is it? Mateo. What's the title of our story? Do you remember? Mateo. Wild Weather. Okay, who remembers what genre the story is? What type of story was it? Anybody remember, Evie?
It was a non-fiction.
It is nonfiction. Sean, do you want to add to it? It's a narrative nonfiction story, okay? So it's, in nonfiction, is it real or make-believe? It's real. So you're getting real information, but because it's narrative nonfiction, the material is presented in the way of a story, okay, for you to follow along. Real quick, I just want to read over our vocabulary words in case that you come to them in reading. Real quick, Ms. Turner, do you want to click through? The first one is, read it with me, tough.
Is there a way to do it where that doesn't come up?
No.
Okay. I just make sure we're doing something wrong.
No, there is, but I don't know how to do it yet. I researched it. Okay. So tough. All right, Miss Turnus, read with me. Go ahead and I'm just reading the words
Okay.
today.
Okay.
Read it with me.
Pellets.
Predict. Clings. Funnel. Occur. Excess. Damage.
I think that's it.
That's it. So you can close that one out and go to the story. So we are on page 114. Tell me, what do we call the person who studies the weather? What is the name of that person? Let me see if somebody online is awake. Lily, what's the name of the person who studies the weather? Very good. Everybody say meteorologist. Okay, he studies the weather and he also makes predictions about what the weather is going to be like. And we learned yesterday on page 113 that there were a couple of tools that he uses to predict the weather. Can anybody name one? We're on page 113. Sean?
Satellite.
He uses satellite way up in outer space. Grayson, what's another tool that the meteorologist might use?
I forgot.
Oh my goodness, he forgot. Layla, do you remember? A what? He might use a windsock. I don't know what, but I want you to pull information from the text, from the story. Weston? Is that in the story? Okay, I want you to pull information. Anytime you're answering questions, think of it like you have to prove the answer. Okay, you have to prove it. So you can prove it by actually touching it in the book. Okay, what was another tool that the meteorologist used? Anemometer. Good job. And there was one more listed. Harper? A radar. He uses radar. So those tools are very important to the meteorologist to be able to predict and report the weather. Make sure that you are muted unless I call on you, okay? All right, so let's turn over to page 114. And we have two main characters in our story so far. Who are they? What's one?
The bird.
Do I share?
The bird, the origami bird. What did you say?
Do I share?
Yes. And who is the other character? We've got the origami bird. Elena, who's the other character? The duck. And there's a problem. We see a problem in our story. What's the problem? problem, Dominic?
The duck's wife disappeared.
The duck's wife is missing, right? What were they trying to do? Somebody online. Henley, what were the ducks trying to do? Mr. and Mrs. Duck. What were they trying to do in the story? Ben, what were they trying to do?
Fly south.
They were trying to fly south for what?
Winter.
For the winter, okay? All right, so on page 114, we're going to read and we're going to learn about why it's important for them to fly south for the winter, okay? Here we go. Sonny shivered. His papery body was growing cold. Natasha is lost, and it will snow any day now, Chuck quacked sadly. So what's the deal with the snow? It's a bit different from hail. The water vapor turns into ice crystal. The ice crystal clings to each other crystals and forms a snowflake. That doesn't sound so bad, Sonny said. If the ground and air are cold enough, the snowflakes pile up and cover the ground, Chuck quacked. The lakes freeze, and it's tough for birds like us to find food. Oh, so that's why you fly south. Raise your hand. Why did Mr. Duck say they fly south for the winter? Raise your hand if you can tell me. Aiden, why did they fly south for the winter? What did the story say? He needs some help. He needs a buddy to help him. Somebody different. My goodness. Matthew, why do the ducks fly south for the winter?
So that they can find more food.
They're going to look for food. Why do they have to fly south to look for food?
Because all the food is covered by the snow.
The food might be covered by the snow. Is that the only reason?
Because it's too cold for them to live there.
It's too cold for them to live. Why? What happens? What happens to the pond?
They get frozen.
It freezes. What happens when the snow comes down? What does it do?
Covers the ground.
It covers the ground. And I think the snow actually makes it difficult for the birds to fly. A duck is a type of bird, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, let's go to page 116. I'm not flying south without my wife, Natasha, Chuck quacked. Where are you? How's the weather down south? It's much warmer, but the weather can get wild there too. What do you mean? Asked Sonny. Heat is measured in temperatures, Chuck explained. When the air is hot, the temperature is high. When, I lost my place, sorry friends. A low temperature means it's cool. That makes sense, Sonny said. So when it's hot, the temperature is what?
High.
Very high. Think of summertime when the temperature's in the 90s and it can go to the hundreds, okay? It's very warm. But think of now in the winter when it's cold outside, the temperature is lowered. I think this morning it was 40.
It was 41 degrees.
41 degrees, Sean told us, okay? So as it gets colder, the temperature lowers, okay? So heat rises, think of that, it gets higher. And when it gets cold, it comes lower, okay? Too much heat can hurt people, plants, and even animals, Chuck quacked. During a heat wave, the temperature and humidity stay high for 2 or more days. So there's one type of wild weather. It's called a what?
Heat wave.
It's a heat wave, okay? It's when the air stays hot or the temperature and humidity stay high for or more days. Okay, what happens to water when it gets hot? What happens to water? Emma?
It turns into a cloud.
It turns into, before it gets to the cloud, what does it turn into?
Steam.
Steam, or
Vapor.
steam is a type of what?
Water vapor.
Water vapor is a type of what?
Gas.
Gas. Okay, so the water tends to turn to gas and dry up when it's hot. That's not good for plants. That's not good for animals either, is it?
No.
I wouldn't want to be stuck in one of those, Sonny said. Where was the worst heat wave on record? That would be down under. The temperature in Marble Bar, Australia was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for 160 days in a row in 1923. Hot days, mate. Okay, so that is on record to be the hottest, longest heat wave. Yes, sir.
That isn't I remember seeing something like a schedule kit from that one, and then it said July 10, 1936, I think.
Okay.
It was 130 degrees there.
I know Miss Sibber used to live in Arizona. I used to live in Phoenix. And the temperature in the summertime would be like 110, 112. Usually around here it gets up in the high 90s. But Arizona, it was really hot. But we didn't have the humidity. We didn't have all the moisture in the air making you hot and sticky. But here in North Carolina, we do have a lot of humidity. It makes you very hot and very sticky. Okay, so first we have a heat wave could happen. Well, first we had snow, sleet, and hail, right? Then we talked about a heat wave. Let's see what else we're going to learn about. Where is Natasha? She couldn't have just disappeared. What happened to those trees? A tornado came through here years ago, Chuck said. I don't know if you can see these trees right here at the bottom of your page. What's wrong with them? Can you see them online, guys? What's wrong with those trees? Harper, what's wrong with them?
They're all torn up.
They're what?
They're all torn up with no leaves.
They're torn up. There's no leaves. They look black. They're broken. Okay, that's what happens when a tornado comes through. What's a tornado, Sonny asked. It's a funnel of wind that forms in the sky and wrecks what it touches on the ground, Chuck said. Tornadoes form during a thunderstorm. They are more likely to occur over flat land. Okay? So what's another type of wild weather we're learning about, Evie?
Tornado.
Tornadoes. Okay? When does a tornado occur? What did the story say? Are y'all listening? Avery, what did the story say? Lillian, do you have a microphone? Oh, try to type it, sweetie, and I'll check it. Layla, when do tornadoes occur? During a thunderstorm. And it usually occurs over what? What did the story say? Over flat land. Okay? It'll tell you during a thunderstorm and usually over flat land. Okay? And it comes in what shape? What shape is a tornado? A funnel shape, okay? And that was one of our vocabulary words. Good job. Tornadoes are usually determined to be weak, strong, or violent. The violent ones can have winds in excess of 200 miles per hour. They can destroy homes. Only 2% of tornadoes are violent. So do we have a lot of violent tornadoes occurring? No, 2% is not a large number, is it?
We do have a bunch of strong and weak tornadoes.
We do have very strong and weak tornadoes. That is correct. Okay? And we'll probably talk about some tornado safety. Matthew?
So, when I was at my Mimi's in Pennsylvania, so after the show I was watching, there was another show on, it said there was a tornado, a strong tornado in Nashville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And, these people survived with their house is crushed on them.
Yeah, like these trees, tornadoes can cause lots of damage. Y'all put your hands down for just a minute. Let's keep going. I had no idea weather could be so scary, Sunny said. That's nothing. My cousin Frank almost got caught in a hurricane once. A hurricane? I'm afraid to ask. So here's another wild weather. What is it?
Hurricane.
A hurricane. A hurricane forms in summer or fall, Chuck said. It forms over an ocean and moves towards land. So how is that hurricane different from the tornado? Emma, how is it different?
It makes it in water and then it goes to land.
Did you want to do the slide? Okay. A hurricane forms over water and the tornado forms over what?
Land.
The land. Okay. And it moves the hurricane moves towards the land. It starts out in the ocean and moves toward the land, where the hurricane is directly over the land. Does it make lots of wind like a tornado, Sunny asked? That's a good question. Raise your hand if you think a hurricane causes lots of wind. Okay, hand down if you think there's no wind in a hurricane. Okay, let's read to find out, okay? Yes, strong winds rotate around the eye of the storm, said Chuck. The spinning storm picks up energy from the warmth of the ocean. When it hits land, high winds and heavy rain can damage buildings. So hurricanes also are dangerous. Lots of times, I don't know if you can see these palm trees, they're leaning over. Okay, during a hurricane, there are very strong winds. The eye of a hurricane is the spot in the center of the storm. In the eye, the winds are light or calm, clouds break up, and rain ends to a clear sky. So if you see this hurricane is constantly spinning, but right in the very center, it's very calm. There's no wind. Sometimes you can even see the sunshine coming through. It's very almost spooky because the hurricane comes back and it'll pass over you, and then the back side of the hurricane will come over and it'll have high winds and rain again.
What?
Yep.
Weird.
All right, we're almost done. Page 122. Wow. All that dangerous weather scares me, said Sunny. Here's the thing, Sunny, Chuck said. We can't control the weather, but meteorologists can warn everyone when dangerous weather is coming, and we can prepare for it. So is the job of the meteorologist important? Give me a thumbs up if it is. Thumbs down if it is not. Avery, thumbs up if it is. Thumbs down if it is not. Jaden Wilson, are you awake? He's asleep again.
Oh
I'm
my
going
God.
to text his mother. And it won't let me boot him out. I don't know why. Okay. So, yes, a meteorologist's job is important. Why? Why am I asking about that? What did the story just tell us? Grayson, what did the story just tell us? Why is the meteorologist's job important?
Because they tell us what if the danger if it windy or something, and if it like be dangerous.
Okay, why is that important for us to know?
We won't get like well, like say we go to the pool and it been been raining. If we turn to a flood.
So we can what? We need to know the weather so we can what? What did the story tell us, Elizabeth? So we can be safe and prepare for the weather. Okay, if you know there's a hurricane coming, you can prepare. You can, we say, batten down the hatches. We can cover the windows. We can buy groceries in case we're stuck in the house. We can get flashlights, batteries, and candles in case we need them. Some people have generators for their refrigerators. It's important. It's very important. Okay? It is. Where were you, Natasha? Oh, hey, Chuck, is that your wife? It is. Where were you, Natasha? I went back for my sunglasses. I can't fly south without them. Come with us, Sonny, Chuck said. I'd love to, said Sonny, but can I get some of those Sonny glasses too? Okay. Did you like reading a narrative nonfiction story? Let me see thumbs up if you did. Thumbs up if you didn't. Raise your hand if you learned something from the story about wild weather. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but it's always nice to recap. Now, your homework. Last night, you were supposed to take your vocabulary words. You were going to use the glossary that Miss Stuber posted and write your definitions and a sentence for each vocabulary word. Okay? Today, it's important that you do your homework on the day it's assigned. Because if you don't, your work piles up and piles up. You need to stay on top of your work. If it's Monday work, you need to do it on Monday. If it's Tuesday work, you need to do it on Tuesday. Okay? You don't want to have Friday come and you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday work to do because that's too much. I can't do all that. I'm sure you don't want to do it all either. Okay?
Sit up. Thank you.
Okay, on page 123 of your book, there are some comprehension questions that go along with the story. Okay, and I've posted these questions in Google Classroom. You're going to start on them today, and you're going to continue working on them tomorrow if you do not finish. But by tomorrow, you should have your definitions and sentences finished, and you should have your comprehension questions. Okay, let's look at the questions. You ready? Real quick. Number 1, why is a meteorologist's job important? Now, when you're answering these questions, remember your race strategy. Restate the question, answer the question, cite your evidence, examine your answer. Okay? How could we restate question number 1? Why is a meteorologist's job important? I think my online peeps are falling asleep. How do we restate that question, Abby?
A meteorologist's job is important because.
Perfect. A meteorologist's job is important because, and then tell me why it's important. How should your sentence begin?
Capital letter.
A capital letter. Good job, Weston. What should be at the end of your sentence? Punctuation mark. Now, anytime you answer your comprehension question, you need to go back in the story to find the answer. Touch it with your finger. Remember, Ms. Stuber said you've got to prove your answer. Find your evidence. It's not what you think the answer is or what you feel. It's what the story says, what the story tells you, okay? Real quick, let's restate question number 2. It says, how can you use the text and pictures to find and understand information about the water cycle? That's a big one. That's a mouthful. How can we restate that question? Sean? When you look at your question, let's start with part of it. Let's start with you. Can we say you can?
You can
Use.
use.
What is the question? Yes.
You can use the text information.
Louder, Sean.
You can use the text information about the water cycle because.
Okay. It says, well, the question is, how can you use the text and pictures to understand the information about the water cycle? You could say, I can use the text and pictures to understand the water cycle because, tell me how the text and pictures help you understand it, okay? And I'm going to let you restate question number 3 all on your own. Remember, you're going to have today to work on it and tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to reread your story or listen to Ms. Stuber read it. I posted that in Google Classroom. And then in your reading journals or on a sheet of paper, you're going to answer your comprehension questions using the RACE strategy. Restate the question, answer the question, cite your evidence, examine your answer. Do you have capital letters and punctuation? Is everybody good with that assignment?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna post this video in case you need help with it online, okay?
And look at number 2, Miss Stuber. It tells us what page to even find that answer.
Oh, in Google Classroom, or even in your book, it says, look at the chart on page 109. So where are you gonna turn in your book or on your slideshow?
109.
Page 109. You're going to use page 109 to help you answer that question. Remember, you have to prove it. Touch your answer. Okay? It's not what you think it is. It's what the story tells you. Okay? All right. Give me a thumbs up if you've got